Bournemouth 2, Manchester City 1, a deserved victory for Bournemouth in truth, and Pep Guardiola was very quick to get behind the microphone and provide an excuse, which is something I'm not too familiar with in truth, because normally Pep Guardiola dives into tactical reasons and alternative reasons, and more often than not blames himself or compliments the opposition. He did a lot of complimenting for Bournemouth, and rightly so, because they played fantastic football yesterday and deserved to beat us. But the first thing he did, in fact, what I'm going to do, I'm going to play you exactly what he said. So let's take a listen to this.
Well, we could not match up the intensity of Bournemouth for the first minutes. We knew it. They have 6-7 days, to prepare the game. We will have in less recovery for the trip from London, and we talk about that. So we have to increase a little bit our duels in that positions, and yeah.
So Pep Guardiola is very, very quick. That was the first question he was asked there, and the first thing he wants to do is mention the difficulty of intensity and not being able to match Bournemouth because they had time off while we were coming back from London. And he even goes on to mention Kyle Walker hadn't trained for 16 days and played 6 minutes of training. I don't know why it's 6 minutes. For some reason, 6 minutes of training. It's very specific. But 6 minutes of training for Kyle Walker. Then why play him, mate? Rico Lewis has got a lot of minutes as well. I don't want to sit here and pretend, and I don't think anyone watching this video or anyone makes videos on YouTube or any sort of general fan can pretend to have an understanding of the physical demands that are placed on a Premier League footballer. And I don't want to hear the opposite argument of suggesting that, but they're paid 300 grand a week, 400 grand a week. They should do whatever they want. They should be able to run. They should be able to run. Mate, the physical demands on these football players is ridiculous. Now, the reason why I'm a bit frustrated as to hearing the excuse is because it's very unlike Pep Guardiola. He doesn't ever go down the lines of Jurgen Klopp and talking about the bloody wind being too strong or the grass is too long or the ball is a funny shape. Some absolute ludicrous, nonsensical arguments that Jurgen Klopp used to put out there to claim that he is one of the elite top-tier managers. Same as Mikel Arteta with all the excuses that he's come out with as well in recent times with regards to his time wasting and antics off the pitch and what he's attitudes are that he sends his players onto the pitch with is disgraceful, and quite frankly it's more often than not why they finish second behind Manchester City. But Pep Guardiola is now stepping into the realms of excuses, and now this is fine, okay, I understand it, it's legitimate. Maybe I need to hold my hands up after yesterday being very, very critical of some of the players' attitudes, and if it's not an attitude problem, it's a physical fitness problem as to why they weren't putting in the levels that we expect as Manchester City fans, then fine, we can write that game off. And I expect the same against Sporting Lisbon because we're still without certain players, and against Brighton. After the international break, surely we come back then. Your De Bruyne's are back. Jack Grealish is back. Savinho will be back to full fitness. Ruben Diaz will be back, who suddenly, surprisingly, became another one we could add to the injury list. But Gvardiol was supposed to be injured. Akanji was supposed to be injured. They both played. Walker was supposed to be injured. He also played, So I don't want to hear this excuse that it is go beyond this now. This is it. Draw a line under that game and move forward. I'll hold my hands up and say, okay, if it wasn't attitudes, it was fitness, fine. I don't want to hear it against Sporting Lisbon. He's even mentioned that he's got to go away to Portugal now and face Sporting Lisbon. Yeah, Arsenal, Liverpool, they're in the same boat as us, which is why I hate the idea of excuses. Injuries happen, and this amount of them, a little bit unusual to see this level of injuries that Manchester City are facing, but we've got to learn to cope with it. We have to. They will never give us an excuse. Rival fans will never go, oh, fair enough. City have lost Rodri, they've lost De Bruyne. They don't give a shit. They don't give a single shit. And all they'll say is that we've got the money to go and buy other players. Then maybe we will do that in January. Maybe we will have to go and invest in a couple of players for cover because we haven't got cover for Kovacic anymore because Rodri is gone. Gundogan cannot do that job. He cannot do that job for me. We've got no cover for Erling Haaland as well. So another player that we should be looking at getting cover for in the January market. Whether we will, whether we won't, I don't know. It's hard to say. But what I don't want to hear is any more excuses about fitness because the top teams play Champions League football, FA Cup football, Premier League football. And Liverpool and Arsenal, they've got more fixtures now because they're into the quarterfinals of the Carabao Cup. So when that happens, I want to hear silence about fitness because we've got an extra week while they're going to be playing football. We're going to get time off. In the summer, you can bring the excuses back if you want because we're going to be talking about the FIFA Club World Cup. And then those are fixtures that nobody in the Premier League are facing other than Manchester City. So that will be an unusual period in the summer. That's way off in the horizon. Let's talk about right now. Because right now, fine. Excuse, fitness, injuries, okay. Let's draw a line under it because I don't want to hear it again, though. That's the main point I want to make. Let's have a look at the match stats. Other than possession, good from Bournemouth. I mean, they deserve to win. You can see that with the XG, 2.04 compared to our 1.54. Shot accuracy is alarmingly bad. Again, is that fitness? Can you blame that on fitness? That's just a lack of quality. That's just quality. That's not finishing. Fitness. That's finishing. That's just, your basic stuff. It's nothing to do with fitness. Big chances, 6 for Bournemouth, 3 for Manchester City. Yeah, they deserve to win. 2-1. Fair enough. Ederson, man of the match for me, 7.5. Kept us in the game, to be honest. Prevented this game from becoming humiliating with 2 very important saves before it became 1-0. A couple of big saves early on in the second half. He did what he could to prevent that scoreline from becoming 3 or 4-0. Thanks to Adam Smith missing an open net, it didn't become 3-0. It could have easily been 3 or 4 before he missed that open net. It was just a really bad day at the office for Manchester City yesterday. But Ederson was a shining light in the darkness of yesterday's performance. 7.5 for Ederson. Akanji, giving him a 6. I thought positionally he was a little bit left loose at times. With him and Ake being the final 2 players at the back, they were so far apart at times. So far apart with this big gap, central gap that was just easily played through. With Evan Nielsen finding pockets of space, Semenyo finding numerous pockets of space. Pep Guardiola talking about the ground duels as well, and we're not able to win the ground duels. Akanji won 2 out of the 3, but it's unusual to see Akanji only enter into 3 ground duels to begin with. I'm going to include possession lost in this video as well for every single Manchester City player, because I think it's fascinating to see the number of times Manchester City gave the ball away. And normally, for anyone who's wondering, the average player, especially from a midfielder, you normally see between 8 to 12 times that they lose the ball. And losing the ball could be simply playing it out for a throw-in, playing it out for a goal kick, trying a dribble, losing the ball, a misplaced pass, a shot that goes over the bar. Anything like that is possession lost, basically. Twice for Akanji, so not bad at all. 6 out of 10 for Akanji. Gvardiol, giving him a 7, got the goal, which definitely helps his scores, his numbers. And again, something I said yesterday that he didn't play that well outside of the goal. I don't think he played badly outside of the goal because his numbers aren't bad at all. 3 clearances, 2 tackles, 2 interceptions. 9 times he lost the ball. Won less than half of his ground duels. But yeah, 7 out of 10. Lovely header. I mean, what a leap that was. Unbelievable leap from Gvardiol. 7 out of 10. Nathan Ake, real stinker for me. Really poor performance from Nathan Ake. Error led to a shot. You can see there 1. No tackles to speak of. 1 clearance. Didn't enter into a single ground duel. Was whipped off on the 73rd minute. He struggled yesterday, and if he was carrying an injury, okay, fine. We've done the whole excuses now. We move on, because I've got to look at the 90 minutes of football that was being played. That's what this is all about. That's what the player ratings is about. We're looking at the 90 minutes. The reason behind the ratings, fine. If it's injuries, fine. But it is what it is, as you like to say, Pep Guardiola. They played poorly. Too many of them did. And Ake was definitely one of them. 5 out of 10 for Nathan Ake. 4.5 for Kyle Walker. Yeah. Really sloppy from Kyle Walker. Dribble past 3 times. That's meant to be his strong point as well. The defensive side of his game is meant to be his strong point. And if, again, Pep gave him the excuse, he was so pleased with Kyle Walker to come onto the pitch and just play. Okay, fine. But if he's not fit enough, don't play him then. I don't see why we need to send him onto the pitch when you've got Rico Lewis, who's played a lot of football lately. He probably needs a rest as well. But if Kyle Walker's not fit, Kyle Walker's not fit. But what's the excuse for 16 possession lost from Kyle Walker? Compared to Ake was 2, 3, I think, and Akanji was 2. Like, such low numbers from our other defenders, but 16 times from Kyle Walker. 3 times dribble past. He won a third of his duels. Yeah, it just wasn't good enough positionally, defensively, athletically. Just below everything we've come to expect of Kyle Walker. And I mean, obviously last year I think he was harshly treated, but this year it's getting so difficult to defend him. Regardless of what excuse you want to provide him, it just wasn't good enough yesterday at all. 4.5. Rico came on for 17 minutes. I've given him a 6. He didn't do anything wrong when he came onto the pitch. He didn't do anything fantastic either, but he managed to bag himself a key pass. He tackled a player. He maintained 100% passing accuracy, which actually is 21 passes. So it wasn't a small number of passes, like 3 out of 3. 21 out of 21 in that 17 minutes of football. So good from Rico Lewis in truth, but it's only 17 minutes of football, so I've given him a 6 out of 10. You wonder what would have happened had he started the game. İlkay Gundogan, again, someone who's been criticised heavily by me and a lot of the City fans lately. Yesterday, his game wasn't quite as bad as it has been in the past, but still well below İlkay Gundogan's standards. He's getting a 6.5 because of that lovely, lovely cross, which massively helps his score, getting that assist for Guardiola. 2 key passes is not bad. His ball retention's reasonable as well, especially considering possession lost 8 from someone in midfield, compared to Kyle Walker, twice as many as that. But you do have to understand the possession lost is you're going to lose. The wingers lose the ball more often because they have to try to do something a little bit more audacious. Dribbling past a player, crossing the ball, shooting. Those basic things that fundamentally an attacking player, Haaland or the wingers, or Kevin De Bruyne is a prime example of someone who always goes for the most difficult defence-splitting pass ever. They have a higher stat ratio when it comes to possession lost, because they do things more difficult. If you try this very simple, basic sideways passes, which the defenders tend to do, then the numbers are quite low, which is why it's so alarming to see Kyle Walker with 16 times he's lost the ball when he's just in defence, who should be keeping it very simple and basic and not giving the ball up that amount of times. But yeah, we need to see way more from Gundogan. Good assist, can't forget that, so 6.5 for Gundogan. Kovacic, yeah, he was okay. 2 dribbles, 1 completed, 3 shots. He struggled to affect the game going forward. He didn't win enough ground duels. Again, another example of ground duels that Pep was talking about. Just physically not able to compete with Bournemouth. He only lost the ball 5 times compared to some of the players you're about to see as well, that you've already seen with Walker and you're about to see as well. It's concerning. But yeah, 6 out of 10 for Kovacic. Just difficult. It's in a midfield that struggled yesterday. All over, from top to bottom, that midfield just struggled. Núñez, another shining light from yesterday. I thought he was a bright spot, but you can see from the wingers, again, 18 times he's lost the ball. So this is what I'm talking about. These players in this position, they're expected to try difficult things and give up the ball, but it's still a bit too high for me. Even though he played well, he tried to do the aggressive things. He certainly didn't show signs of any lack of fitness. 5 key passes to his name. Ball passing accuracy is below. Shouldn't be entering into the 70s. Got to keep it at least in the 80s. But still, 5 key passes shows a creative nous. Tackles shows a defensive nous. Dribbling once, he completed it. 7 out of 11 ground duels, so there's your physicality. You can't really complain, Times he's lost the ball, yeah, a little bit too frequent for me, but he still deserves a 7.5, Matheus Núñez, who's becoming our best player, certainly on form right now. Phil Foden, giving him a 5. Yesterday, I thought I was having a go at his attitude yesterday. If it's fitness, I'm a bit confused why he's in that boat, because he's missed the first 4 or 5 games of the season. So why is he lacking fitness? I don't understand that one at all. Why is he lacking fitness? Because that, to me, was attitude. There wasn't as much. He didn't run as much. He didn't look like he cared. Now, we're getting into a dangerous game where we start second guessing the facial expressions of players. But his face did not look like he gave a shit when he was battering the ball over the bar, and when he put one at just wide of the mark at the end. His overall quality just wasn't good enough yesterday. He wasn't there. 4 shots, 0 on target. 1 key pass from Phil Foden compared to 5 from Matheus Núñez. He's got to be pulling strings. He's so important to our creativity, especially, emphatically so, when we saw Kevin De Bruyne being out for 2/3 of last season. Phil Foden stepped up and delivered on every front possible for Manchester City last season. Where's that Phil Foden gone? What's happened? I don't know what's going on. It's so disappointing to see the levels that he's dropped to. 18 times he lost the ball as well. Really disappointed yesterday. Bernardo Silva, I've given him a 5.5, arguably a touch better than Phil Foden. Was less influential in terms of trying to actually do things with it because he didn't try as much. He gave the ball away 15 times rather than 18. He dribbled twice rather than once. successfully. 3 out of 5 ground duels, so not a shockingly bad performance, but we need to see way, way more from Bernardo Silva. He is someone who's played so much football for Manchester City this season. I can't remember the last time he didn't start a game this season. All season, I'm pretty sure he started almost every game. So, yeah, if the fitness is the reason, I think he has an excuse, whereas Foden for me does not. Haaland, and our final player, I've given him a 5 because he's there to score goals. He had 2 big chances, missed them. Shooting accuracy wasn't good. That big one at the end is too big an opportunity to ignore. 3 ground duels, didn't win any of them. He lost the ball 7 times. It was not his day yesterday. He couldn't get on the end of any crosses. Yeah, and I mean, if he scores that goal at the end, we talk about a totally different Erling Haaland performance, don't we? The guy bags us an equaliser, a totally undeserved equaliser, but we talk about a different performance, don't we? And that's the fine margins and the life of Erling Haaland, because he's there to score goals, and if he doesn't score goals, he'll get criticised because of what he does elsewhere on the pitch, which is pretty much is minimal, you know? Whereas when he scores a goal, it's like, usually it's like a brilliant centre-forward's goal, and we all wax lyrical about it, and rightly so, because he's a phenom of a goal scorer. And he will come back and score goals. And Manchester City will come back and win football matches. And right now, we're going through a tough spell. I'm going to allow Pep Guardiola to have those excuses. I feel he's deserved that, Pep Guardiola. He's got enough credit in the bank to come out with an excuse as to why fitness is, as well as the fact that they are legitimate reasons, because there are so many of our players missing. Understandable to say that. But I miss the Pep that doesn't give a shit about that. He says, I don't care about injuries. We just go forward. I don't want to use it as an excuse. He said that a couple of weeks ago. He doesn't want to use injuries as an excuse. Now he's doing it 2 weeks later. So he's gone against his own words there, which is a little bit disappointing. Forgiven and forgotten. Let's move on. Forget it. Sporting Lisbon is going to be such a difficult game, really difficult, and even Brighton. In fact, you look at the next Premier League fixtures for Manchester City. In the next 5 games, we're facing Brighton away, we've got Liverpool away, we've got Forest, we've got Spurs, and Palace away. I mean, does that fill you with confidence? I mean, how quick does it change to lose confidence in this league? It goes the other way, though. It goes the other way. If we go and beat Brighton away, what a statement that would be. And I think we can do it. We just have to not buy into this excuse too much and start getting the mentality of like, oh, we're all injured. Oh, we're not going to do as well. Oh, therefore we're injured and we're going to be poor. No, just fight through it. We've got to fight through it. And it's easy for me to say that because I'm not the one who's getting physically demanded like these Premier League footballers are. So it's very easy for me to say it and sit here and say that. But I believe they can do it. Come on, City, we can turn this around. It's just a little blip. We have these every season, and we are going to turn it around. What do you think, Blues? Get in the comments below. Let us know your thoughts. Like and subscribe to Typical City, and I'll see you in the next one.
This is Typical City.